I am thrilled to present to you.
Yep, I did the same thing, brother.
Lance is going to share with you. Lance Brown's going to share with you the story about thriving, right? And so I'm going to turn it over to him right now. I'm going to let him tell his story.
If you take my notes, you're not going to hear anything.
Oh, well, here. I did take his notes. I thought he was kidding. All right, bro. God bless you, man.
Lance Brown, family of Mark, Kairos 16. I grew up in a house that didn't have a Bible in it. I don't want to say I never went to church, because a couple times when I spent the night with my little friends, we went to church, and believe it or not, it was not a good experience. I was interested, but it wasn't a good experience. In my house, if you heard the words Jesus Christ, that meant that there was a good catch in the football game. If you heard someone say God, it was always followed by a bad word. I grew up hedonistic. It was a middle-class household, but it was all about getting things and having things, serving yourself and feeling good. I thought that was normal, but I survived. Super Bowl Sunday, 1991, I killed a man. I went to prison. I survived. I didn't like prison. Prison wasn't for me. They told me what to do and what I could do, and you had to wear the clothes that somebody else had on yesterday. But I survived. I was offered a chance to go to Kairos on the Darrington unit, and I turned them down. I wasn't interested in all the temptations of shrimp and egg rolls and pizza, and what didn't interest me, and I didn't want to go there for the food, and I was surviving. Remember I said I didn't like prison? On Easter Sunday, 1996, I borrowed one of the good people of Texas's horses, and I rode off into the sunrise. I didn't ride the horse the whole way, but by sundown, Easter Sunday, I was in Memphis, Tennessee. I survived. They caught me 8 days later. I survived. I went to administrative segregation. For those of you that don't know, administrative segregation, you spend 23 or 24 hours a day in a 6x9 cell. No human contact. I survived. I saw things in administrative segregation that would make one of you scratch your head and just shake and just wonder about humanity. But I survived. I ended up doing 11 years in administrative segregation, in a cell by myself with no human contact. When I was in there, in October 2005, a madman that drove a milk truck from Amish farm to Amish farm in Pennsylvania, he went into a school in Nickel Mines, Pennsylvania, and he ordered the teacher out at gunpoint. Then he ordered the little boys out at gunpoint. Then he barricaded himself in there with the little girls and proceeded to rape them and murder them. Then when the police charged the school, he killed himself. I was so enraged at this that I wanted to escape again, go dig him up and kill him again. But I read about the Amish families going to his widow talking about, we forgive him and we forgive you and you're a victim too. And they brought her food and clothes, and I'm like, what manner of love is it that these people have that I don't have a clue about? And so when the Christian folks came around, I asked them for a Bible. Shortly after that, after 11 years in Ad Seg, I was released from administrative segregation and shipped to the Eastham unit. Chaplain Vance Drum put me in Kairos 16. My table leader was George Pollard. George was convinced that I was not getting it. He looked at me through the 4 days, and he's like, man, this guy just is not getting it. I was taking it all in. You see, I had been surviving for all these years. I had been surviving on my own will, my own way, my own intelligence, my own desires. But I learned a way to thrive. It was something special. After Kairos, we had prayer and share every week. And at that time, everybody that went to Kairos took a class called Soul Survivor, where you learned how to apply what you learned in Kairos in the prison environment into your life. You see, I was learning how to not just survive, but to thrive. As I went through that, I joined the Jesus team, and I was in that for 2 years. I made it into a class called Therapon, which was a very difficult class to get into. I was surviving and I was thriving. I started teaching these classes. I remember somebody coming up to me talking about, when you're the leader of the church, I'm like, man, I'm not going to be the leader of the church. I sit in the back row. And slowly, Chaplain Drum had me a facilitator in Overcomers, a group leader in Bait of Satan, more classes and more classes, until I was teaching the largest inmate facilitated class in the state of Texas. This is a big group here. Every Friday, we had 375 people on the lay-in list who would come to this class. I didn't ask to teach any of these classes. You see, once you learn how to survive, and once you start to thrive in Jesus Christ, the door starts to open for you. You don't have to kick down a door. You don't have to ask to do anything. You will be asked. That class that I was telling you about that's difficult to get in, Therapon. And what Therapon, it's Hebrews 3:5, where it says Moses was a servant in the house. That word in the Greek is Therapon. And that class offers you an associate's degree for 2 years of criminal recovery and relapse prevention. After 2 years of that, it offers a bachelor's degree in Koine Greek and Bible doctrine. And then after that, you earn a master's degree. So that's 6 years for the master's degree. And I've got the ring. I went through the class. Matter of fact, I was in the master's class when I was granted parole after 28 years of incarceration. But I'd learned how to thrive in my environment. When I was released from prison, I had a series of bad jobs, a series of dangerous jobs, a series of illegal jobs. You got to do what you have to do till you can do what you want to do. When I say an illegal job, I was telling some people earlier, I got my CDL because I figured I'd be golden. I'd have a job like that. One thing I found out is when you have a CDL, they want 2 to 3 years of verifiable experience. So I got in with this little podunk company that every single truck they had was illegal. And I'm like, man, did God get me out of prison to be worried about the police? So we were at a Therapon reunion in Crockett. And the founder of Therapon said, Lance, there are some people who want to take over Therapon who I'll never let them. And there's other people I'd like to see take over Therapon, but they've never asked. I said, well, Doc, I'd like to take over Therapon. This mic is hot, so I'm not going to slap this. But he slapped that table and said, that's what I was hoping you'd say. As I started to proceed to get everything ready to take over Therapon, COVID-19 hit. It's okay. Before COVID-19, I was a participant of Kairos 38 at the East Ham unit. That was a lot of fun, and then we did a reunion, and that's when COVID hit. So now that I'm the executive director, it has a funny ring to it. I'm the executive director of the Therapon program. We're teaching 5 classes a week on the Wainwright unit. We have 4 classes for minimum custody, and we have 1 class for medium custody where there's a greater need. The class for medium custody is a smaller class because we've got to get through those thick skulls down there with those guys that are acting like knuckleheads. But the guys on minimum custody, we have 50 in class on Monday, 50 in class on Tuesday, 40 in class on Wednesday, and 12 in our bachelor's class on Thursday. Remember, I told y'all I did 11 years of administrative segregation, locked up in an area the size of your bathroom 24 hours a day? I take the Therapon graduates about every 5 weeks, and we go to administrative segregation, and we walk cell to cell, and we talk to those men. We talk to those men about whatever they want to talk about, and we talk to those men about Jesus Christ if they'll listen to it. But if they don't want to listen to it, we'll talk to them. And the major and the warden have said that since we started doing this, use of forces has decreased noticeably in Ad Seg. If I'm thriving, then they can thrive. If I'm doing well, then they can do well. God is not a respecter of persons. If one person can thrive, we all can thrive. But we've got to go back and go to the greatest need and get those that have that need and bring them up. This past Sunday after church, I went to A-Line on Wainwright unit, which is the worst of the worst. That's the ones that can't have anything in their cell. And I spent the day talking to each man over there. And I told them, I said, you need to get your level 2. You need to get your level 1. You need to get out of administrative segregation. And you need to get out of the prison. You've got to thrive. George, man, he thought that I was just surviving sitting at that family of Mark. George, he became my mentor. He learned when you're at a table on the inside and there's someone that's just sort of quiet, they're preparing to thrive. They're getting ready to thrive. John 15 talks about having no fruit, much fruit, and abiding fruit. Every single person that goes through one of my classes is the fruit of Kairos, even though they might never have heard of Kairos, even though they haven't been through Kairos, because I've been through Kairos and I've learned about Kairos and learned how to apply Kairos and learn how to thrive myself. I am teaching them how to thrive, and they are your fruit, even though they've never met you. Everything's going wonderful right now. Everything's going to continue to go wonderful. If we get another shutdown of the prison system, it's a setback, but we'll get around it. We will thrive because I read the end of the book. I know what happens at the end. We win. Amen? That's it. I told you I was going to give you change.